Welcome, everyone, to an episode of Podcast of the Fallen that I have been looking forward to since we started the podcast.
Oh,
Because, oh, holy shit, I think is a great way to describe these chapters.
yeah, it's an accurate description. A
Um,
lot happens.
yeah, so these are at least 16 and 17 for sure, but 18 as well. I think three of my favorite chapters I've ever read in any book ever.
Wow, it's high praise.
I mean, yeah, Matt was at work. We were at work on like Wednesday,
Think so.
and Matt said, "Yeah, so I started chapter 16 on the train this morning, and wow, what an opening."
I was a bit caught off guard because I mean we'll get into it, but it was just such a abrupt and here's the action of the horrible attack finally just happening.
Hmm.
Yeah, it opened with a bang and then ended with some really cool ideas and like plot points and like just setting up the story in chapter
Yep,
18. So I'm excited.
yep. So chapter 16, 17, and 18 of Memories of Ice today, the siege and the fall of Capistan.
Oof.
So let's get into it. I guess I didn't introduce myself. I'm Nate. That's Matt.
Oh
If this is
yeah.
your first episode, you picked the heck of an episode to start on. But
Oh yeah. You definitely did.
chapter 16, the Tenaskauri literally flood Capistan, rising over the walls and battering down gates with the sheer force of humanity. Idkovian swings his sword blindly, always finding a target as he and his horse are surrounded. He receives a pike to the back, a knife to his left knee, and a hatchet buried in his clavicle, but he manages to break free with his horse and reach Carnidus and Brucalion before falling unconscious. Gruntle and his followers defend their tenement building, filling entire hallways and rooms with bodies. Gruntle hunts the seer Doman, cutting down scores of peasants to close with them. He has tiger stripes running across his face and arms, and his cutlasses look like fangs. His lieutenant calls him Trake's mortal sword. The enemy retreats, and Gruntle commands his followers to retreat to the next floor for the next assault. Brucalion watches the surgeons take Kovian into the triage unit, noting that Carnatus has used his warren too often and will be dead by dawn. The Mortal Sword receives a message from Wrath Fenner, invoking Fenner's eighth command for the Grey Swords to come to him. Brucalion knows it's a trap, but elects to go anyways so that the crime can be avenged by Kovian. Their approach to the thrall is uncontested, and when they arrive, they are slaughtered by arrows and thousands of Panion soldiers. Brucalion stays upright, the last alive as his burning sword incinerates the enemy. When he finally succumbs, Hood himself comes to collect his soul. Itkovian speaks in Rathfenner's mind and tells him that he is coming for him. Buke flies over the city in his soul-taken form, observing as the Tenaskari desperately search for the Kapan citizens. He sees Grintle's tenement building, bulging out at the walls and leaking blood, and he can't believe his eyes. He decides he's not ready to face Gruntle and flies away. Itkovian wakes up and thanks Carnitus for his gift of healing before the Destriant dies. He recognizes the messenger that as the recruit that rode with him on the plains, and he denies her request for punishment for delivering the message to Brucalion. He has an armorer repair his armor and make a brace for his leg. He leads his soldiers to Jalarkin's palace and tells the recruit to ride Brucalion's destrier. Itkovian is not yet done. At the palace, Itkovian divides his troops to side entrances of the main hall and enters. Anastar and his lieutenants have been feasting on Prince Jalarkin's body. Itkovian offers to take Anastar's pain and despair, but the first child of the Dead Seed refuses because without it he will be as nothing. Anastar flees and the Grey Swords cut down the remaining Seer Doman. They will hold the throne room for a time in the name of the prince. So, Tenaskauri flooding the city. Your thoughts?
It blew my mind just how many people flooded in at once, I think. I think it's hard reading this to imagine the scale of the city and the amount of people coming in. It's kind of overwhelming to read, which I think is kind of the idea, the
Oh yeah.
overwhelming feeling of the battle, because it's just insane how many people are coming in. As well, the kind of people that are coming in, like the just bloodthirsty cannibals, you're just like, this isn't gonna end well, you know that. But it was kind of cool to see though how well at least the Gray Swords held out for most of it, I thought.
Yeah, they did okay considering the circumstances.
Yeah.
Um, and overwhelming, I think, is the number one word that comes to my head when I think of the Siege of Capistan. Just like you have these descriptions of Ikovian sees a three-tiered wall of human bodies before it literally falls on top of him
Yep.
because and the Teniscari just taking away their dead to go eat them, or sometimes women taking the dying men so that they can do what they do before that man dies.
Yep. It was yeah, it was kind of gross, not gonna lie, reading some of it. I'm like, wow, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah. And
Everything that happens.
one thing that I did want to point out is this latched onto me this time, but when it's he's Ikovian is seeing his gray swords get just like buried in bodies, and it has that phrase buried alive, buried dying, buried dead.
Yep.
That's just I don't know, that little phrase is so good.
Yeah, I do remember that phrase because I was like, that was, I feel like, a good description of the just kind of sheer horror of this situation of just like you got some of your guys who probably are just injured, like not mortally injured, but enough that they became unconscious due to loss of blood, and now they're buried under a bunch of dead people and probably gonna die because there's no way to get them out. Or like you
Uh-huh.
don't know that they're there.
Yeah, it's the ultimate like pile up for American football.
Yeah, except this isn't running back and forth with the leather ball. This is just people burying people with
Yeah.
people,
These are soldiers cutting down peasant cannibals.
which is just insane to me. Like we got the Seer Doman, is it that the name? Kind of the leader of the actual military group,
Oh, the
or
Septarch is the leader. The Seer
the
Domin are like
Septarch?
they're yeah, the Seer Domin are like
Okay.
the elite warrior priest guys.
That's right. But yeah, no, it's interesting to see the contrast of the warriors like of them, how they're attacking versus the Tennis which is just fueled by pure hunger and just rage and just despair, I guess is a word they used. Is pretty gnarly just to see kind of the effect that drove them to just a mass amount of people to that.
It almost makes them feel like zombies because at one point Ikovian says that all down the street, no matter how far away they are, they're like holding their hands out to Ikovian and the Grey Swords in hunger. And if that's
Yeah.
not like zombie like just a bunch of monsters
Yeah.
running at you wanting to eat you.
That's actually I think that's an awesome description. I didn't even think of it like that, but it literally is like a zombie apocalypse
It's what
in
where
that
we live would
sense.
look like if there was a zombie apocalypse, because we're in a highly populated valley and we would be screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's just more, it's brought up a bit later on, like, we'll probably talk about it, but like the effect of like their leader's decision has driven them to this just kind of pure bestial rage, which is just
Hmm.
crazy to me.
Yeah, Ikovian does some his horse is killing people by kicking them and it bites someone's skull off, and
Oh, impressive.
he does the wheel of death with his sword. It feels like something out of an anime where he just holds his
Oh
sword
yeah.
out and his horse spins in a circle and then in another one.
Yeah, like yeah, I actually really like this part. I mean, as weird as that is to say, because I think Erickson has done a great job describing forces in combat. Like the amount of books and movies I've seen like horses trample people. I've seen Lord of the Rings with the Oliphants, I think they're called, you know, just charge through lines and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah.
But I've like never thought of like a horse in a close combat like situation of it. Like the horse itself, like is fighting for its life,
Hmm.
which I think is I've never thought of it that way or seen it in that kind of light, which I thought was really cool to read.
Yeah. I mean, it's a war horse.
Yeah.
This is a horse that's been trained from birth to kill people and be in battle.
Yep.
And it's overwhelming, but Ikovian manages to get away. His horse is awesome and keeps running with a spear in its chest.
It's insane. That's
And
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Ikovian, a lot happens to him.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I mean, like you read earlier, A pike to the back, a knife to his left knee, and a hatchet buried in his clavicle.
Yep.
He has three major wounds and manages to get out of there.
And just some of the descriptions of what he does to the peasants, like point of the sword through one cheek, out the other.
This may be a weird comparison, but it kind of made me think of like a more tamer version of Mortal Kombat, but in written form.
Oh, don't worry, some Mortal Kombat level stuff is coming.
Oh, I'm sure after reading this, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we do see some of it.
And then Kovian breaks away, finds Brucalion and Carnitas, and Brucalion is just like, sorry we're late. I apologize, sir, for our tardiness.
I mean, what are you gonna do in a city filled with zombie-like people? You're gonna be
Yeah,
late, I feel like.
you got to latch on to that formality to keep yourself sane.
Yeah. Which I think that didn't they bring that up? Like the formality of like the messengers being like sir and asking for orders and just like that level of structure, which I think
Yep.
does help them
It's
keep grounded a
necessary.
little bit.
Yeah. And then we have Gruntle. What did you think of Gruntle's section? He is
Um,
fully in it.
yeah, I thought it was interesting that through most of this since he kind of like went out to fight after rescuing Stani, we haven't had a like we don't get a POV of him. It's always like a third party looking at him, which I thought was interesting through most of this. Like it's not until like later, kind of when everything ends, because I think it shows more of the like kind of that trance he's been in this entire time, like as he continues to just kind of plow his way through this.
Yeah, we do get his point of view here in this section. It is him, but he is very much in that trance.
Yeah,
He knew
but
he had
yeah,
entered a place devoid of sanity, and he's just full on killing
that's right.
machine. It like hunting down Seerdoan and literally leaving them chopped to pieces.
Yep. Well,
And
describes the building there and is just filled with bodies and like blood. Just kind of
chest
gross.
deep. Yep. I mean, he's it's Die Hard. It's cannibal zombie Die Hard.
Yeah. They then move to the next level to fill it up, and then the next level.
So not quite Die Hard, but yeah.
Yeah.
And he's not even tired. He's barely breathing hard. He's just swinging at everything in his path. And his lieutenant is like, "Yeah, what did you think when his lieutenant said your trick's mortal sword?"
I thought it was really cool. It kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I don't know if I saw that coming per se. Definitely led up to it, but I think it's interesting that when I read it, it kind of clicked for me like what it means to be a mortal sword. Because it made me think of, isn't Dassem Ultor, wasn't he the mortal sword for Hood?
Has it said that?
I thought it did. Or maybe that's
He
me.
was the first sword of the Malazan Empire.
First sword.
Um, well, no, I do not believe that it has said that he is. You made me go back and double check, but
Oh, okay.
I think what you're thinking of is that he was the first sword of the
The
Malazan
first sword.
Empire.
Oh, okay. Because
But
I thought of that.
Brucalion is Fenrir's mortal sword.
Okay, that's maybe where I'm getting it. But I think it just made me think of more like how, like what it actually means to be the mortal sword, of like the actual power they have. And then we see like a Kovian's power a bit later of like him being the shield anvil.
Hmm.
So I think it just like it kind of showed more of what the role actually mean. Because so far it hasn't mentioned really, except that's a title, is all I've
Yeah,
seen it as. And so seeing that, it kind of made me think of like how much the mortal sword kind of takes on part of the persona of the god they serve and the power that they get from it, which
yeah.
I thought was kind of cool.
Uh, the mortal sword is basically just like the martial champion for a god.
It's kind of
With
cool.
with as we see later, it explains a bit more about Fenner, which is exciting. We'll get to that
Hmm.
later, but with Fenner gone and Trake rising, Trake needed an immortal sword, and
Yep.
so I really like the description of like Gruntle has like the blood splashes on him just so happen to be making tiger stripes all across his arms and face.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have anything for that section left.
Oh, the last thing is Gruntel's last sentence. Time to jam more souls down Hood's clogged, choking throat.
Oh yeah. I think that's so interesting that that's always what we think. That's what they always refer to as just Hood. How
Yep.
much? The god of death is kind of prevalent in everything in war.
Uh-huh. Funny how that works.
Funny.
And then we get Brucalion. I think this is the first time we've seen that overtaxing your Warren can kill you. Because Carnitas has been using his healing Warren too much, and Brucalion says, yeah, he'll be dead by dawn, and then he does die later.
I mean, didn't we see some of the taxing of the Warrens in Deadhouse Gates on the trail? I thought it had been briefly mentioned like the
Oh, yeah.
healers had been kind of overtaxed, like there's a physical
Oh, yeah, you're
appearance to
totally
it,
right.
but
Duerker sees one's arm break when they try to pick up a pot.
that's right. But I think this is the first time where we've explicitly seen like that it can just completely kill you.
Part of it
So
is that the Warrens are poisoned. So, yeah, there's that. What do you think of Brucalion's decision to go to the thrall so that there can be a crime for Itkovian to punish?
when you were reading the summary, like I remember when this happened, I was like, well, that was just wild. Like they're just all dead now. Like that was the decision. Like collectively, like we're just gonna march to our death. But then when you're reading it, I was like, I feel like that's kind of a dumb decision. I don't know why. I was like, yeah, the dude broke something, but do you really like hate the guy that much that you think sacrificing everyone just to kill one guy, like, is that worth it? I don't know. Like,
I mean, the leaders of the Grey Swords also know that Fenner that their time is not gonna they're not gonna be around much longer because they've
I don't know.
sensed that stuff with Fenner. They've sensed that Fenner is falling,
Yeah.
basically. But I mean, they do even acknowledge it. Nobanus, the captain by Brucelian, snorts and says, "Pathetic." And the mortal sword, the Septarch deems himself clever, sir, and us stupid with honor. Aye, we are that indeed, are we not, old friend? So they know.
Yeah. They know it's like they they're just marching to go die. But
Yeah, but in the moment when you're reading it, it feels like, oh man, this is like a super badass and noble thing to do.
yeah. Like, cause that's how I felt reading. I'm like, wow, these guys are awesome. Like, way to go. But then thinking back, I'm like, you sense the end is near, but at the same time, to punish a guy for falling God because he broke an oath, sort of.
There there
But
is also they do have the short discussion about, well, see, the command is greater than Rathfenner himself, and so if we don't answer the command, then we're also betrayers of the faith.
I guess that's true. Yeah, it was like a kind of like left them no option.
Is catch 22 the correct term to use here, where both decisions are bad?
That's the term I was thinking when you said that, but then again, I've always heard it and never used it. It's one of those now that I think about it, I've never thought.
Ah, a dilemma or difficult circumstance from which there is no escape because of mutually conflicting or dependent decisions. So
So
yes,
yeah,
this is a catch 22.
isn't that a book?
It's probably a book.
Isn't that? I thought that was a book. What am I thinking of?
Yep. The term was coined by Joseph Heller, who used it in his 1961 novel named Catch 22.
Ah, that's right. It's one of those like kind of classics. Is it a banned book or controversial one? I don't know.
No.
Anyways,
We're showing our extensive knowledge of literature right now.
I mean, I am reading Les Mis and gonna read War and Peace this year to hopefully correct some of that. But like, yeah, I almost know nothing about literature. And I gotta say, Les Mis is actually really good. I've been enjoying it. Characters in
It's
that are awesome.
it's one of my favorite musicals. Never read it though.
It's kind of a commitment to read, not gonna lie. It's been slow going, but
Yeah. I have stopped reading the Red Rising series because I haven't read it in a week and feel no urge to do so anymore. And it's first person, and I generally don't like first
yeah.
person books. So now I'm reading The Shining by Stephen King.
Oh, nice. You finally didn't you get some Stephen King? Yeah, It and Shining and
It, The Shining, and The Stand.
that's right, The Stand. Is The Stand a horror novel?
I think so. I think it's a horror post-apocalyptic
Oh, it's the
novel.
post-apocalyptic one. Because I know it's like one of his kind of like what's the
From
term? Like
from what
def
I could tell, It, The Shining, and The Stand are like the three most highly praised Stephen King books. So,
yeah,
but I've never seen the movies for any of them either, so I am going in completely blind, not knowing anything.
nice.
All I know is here's Johnny from the movie.
That's how I've been going into Les Mis. I've never seen a musical or a movie of it. I have no idea really what the story is, and it's been interesting.
Nice.
It's been a fun ride. I think it's a lot of fun to do that with fiction. I mean, you kind of miss out on some of the details, I feel like, because you don't know exactly or don't have an idea what's coming, but it's not too bad. But I digress. We probably go back to our catch-22 situation.
Speaking, we get some context for why Fenner was pulled down in Deadhouse Gates, because this betrayal wounded him and left him unable to act or protect
Mm,
himself. And so Nobanus is like, if Fenner can't do it, then who is going to avenge us? And Brukelian's like, it's at Covian. What do you
yeah,
think now? That's good. That's good.
like that's fine. Yeah. I This whole Fenner thing sometimes throws me for a loop because I'm like, wait, how is your god wounded? Because someone broke an oath or something. Like, what's this reeve they speak of? Do we know enough now or
We'll get into it more when we get there later.
okay.
Um, because there's some scenes later. But what I will say is that worship and worshipers mean a lot in this world.
Okay,
And
so
the relationship between a god and its followers is very much a two-way relationship.
interesting. So it's a very interdependent connection between the
Yes.
two. Okay. Which I feel like I kind of like that take on this. And with some of these gods, I think it makes it more interesting and gives the feeling that, people have a little more control of things.
Yep.
So it's fun. But yeah, no, talking about a little more, I think it is pretty honorable that they just kind of accepted like we made this decision to fight and uphold our end of the deal. So if we die, we die. And yeah.
Yeah. And that scene with Brukelian just is amazing. It's so like
Oh yeah.
cinematic because you are seeing it from Ikovian. Ikovian is watching it like it's a movie.
And, yeah, in his vision.
The arrows, the 1,500 arrows slicing across the courtyard, Brukelian's sword with black fire down running down its length, incinerating people as he swings it.
I feel like this is a spoiler, so maybe spoiler for the next 30 seconds or whatever we
Okay.
can do it. But this scene very much reminded me, I don't know how you feel, but of Kelsier in Mistborn.
Oh,
What like his final act, you know what I mean? Like maybe not as
yeah.
cinematic, but it was kind of the same idea of like I'm going to my death right now and I'm gonna make a statement so that something else could be moved. It's kind of like a sacrificial move in a game of chess.
Yep.
But
Yeah, that's actually a really good comparison. Brukelian's sword shattering and just slicing
oh
out like
yeah.
a grenade and taking down even more people when he's killed.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then
I,
oh, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say like then after that, Hood himself appears,
Hood himself comes to take Brukelian's soul.
which reminded me of Deadhouse Gates when Coltane the was it the crows came. I mean,
Oh
even though
yeah.
they're repelled, but it kind of reminded me of that, like a very honorable person died, I guess, or a very important figure, which
Yeah,
was
and
pretty cool.
everyone there is shocked. Like, what did we just do? Who did we kill for Hood himself to come?
Yeah, which I think it puts it into an interesting perspective of Hood. I feel like I've been saying that a lot. Interesting perspective, but no, just Hood coming in himself, it adds more mystique to who he is. I mean, we see later on in a section we'll talk about his interaction with one of our favorite
Yes.
mages, Quick Ben. But like at it adds more to who is Hood. I like he's just such a mystery this entire story. Like I feel like he hasn't been like a super critical part of a lot of things, but I just kind of want to know who he is after meeting all these other gods. Where I'm just like, who is this guy? Like, how did you become who you are? And then like, what makes you feel the need to personally come to collect, his soul or whatever?
So, this is a theory that I can share with you because it contains no spoilers from further on.
Yes.
But I think maybe a reason Hood comes to take Bukalian's soul is because Bukalian is a mortal sword and did a lot of killing and
Sure.
gave a lot of people to Hood.
That's a good theory actually. Like he did Hood a great deed.
And also, it was a very noble death. So that
Yeah,
could be part of it as well.
it's a good theory. I like it.
I don't have much to say about Butte section after that.
Nope. Nor do I.
He just sees Gruntle's building and is kind of horrified, understandably.
Yeah, every time I read it, I'm like, that is pretty tragic, seeing that, the effects of that.
And then after that, I really like Kovian, and it's weird to say a weird fantasy name that ends with an S as possessive, but Carnitus's Kovian and Carnitus's final conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Because Carnitus had to heal him quickly without accounting for the wounds to the spirit, which was brought up, I think, the first time healing's ever brought up in Gardens of the Moon. That you've got to heal the mind and the body.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I mean, I thought whenever they healed physical stuff, like used healing magically, that it just did the body and then the person deals with the mind afterwards. But that's interesting to know that they can kind of heal somewhat of the soul or the spirit or whatever they
They
consider it.
can, yeah, but if it's a rushed or like a shoddily done healing, then Kovian is because he knows this is his friend's final moment. So he's like, no, you did a good job. There's nothing but tenderness. It's fine. And then he sits up and he's like, I'm about to black out.
He's like, that hurts.
And then the contrast, the Carnitus saying, I am done. I know,
Hmm.
but I am not. And that is
Yeah.
Kovian's theme for the next chap for all of the remaining stuff that we're reading.
Yep. He just continues to move forward, which is pretty cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought Ecovians though marched to the what's it? Is it the throne?
The
Throne?
Thrall, yeah. Oh no, to Jalarkin's palace.
Tralarkin's palace. Thought it was pretty cool.
I really like that he tells the recruit to ride the horse, to ride Bukalian's horse, and she wants punishment, and he's like, no, 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 no. You're here. If you had betrayed us, he would have gone there.
Yeah. No, like I like that as well. Like he's like, no, you were just doing what you were told. He's like, this isn't your fault.
And to prove it, let me let you ride maybe the nicest horse you've ever seen in your life.
Yep.
Erickson has a knack for taking characters because she's earlier in the book. She's the recruit that they take to hunt down the demons.
Yep.
And Erickson has a knack for taking characters that you think this is a side character. This doesn't mean anything. And then he's like, nope, they're actually important.
They played a pivotal role in a major event later on,
Yep.
which is crazy to think about. But no, isn't this where after Covine gets there though, they like line up and then shoot the arrows, right?
Yeah, they line up at the side entrances and they walk in on Anasta's lieutenants who don't need to eat human flesh, feasting on the prince because they can.
Because I thought that was an interesting note. He's like, yeah, these guys aren't underfed. They're doing this out of pleasure.
It's a celebration.
Horrible celebration.
Hmm.
And yeah, because they
Uh,
walk in and it's like blood covered floor. They see like what was it, torso being cooked.
yep, his torso being cooked with chunks taken out of the butt and the thighs, and
Yeah,
Jalarkin's skin pin nailed to her makeshift cross.
it's just gross and disturbing, honestly.
Yep. That's a scene out of a horror movie.
100%. No, when I read that, I was like, wow, that is awful. Like, I can't believe like that's even a possibility of anything happening. And yeah. They just celebrate it. That's their way of living, I
Hmm.
guess, if you can call it that.
What did you think of Kovian offers to take Anaster's pain away, and Anaster acts like that would be the worst thing ever because all he is pain, and he doesn't know anything else.
I thought that was another, it was like kind of like the same thing with Gruntle. I thought it explored more of the powers the shield anvil has and kind of was like this is his role, which I thought
Yeah,
was kind of cool, but also like put the picture of who Anaster is really like that's what drives him.
yeah.
So,
It's not a pretty picture, and lots of people that have known nothing but or mostly pain in their lives don't want help.
yep, it's true. Because they don't know who they'd be with. I mean, he kind of says he's like he wouldn't know what to do without that. Like it would remove who he is, building their identity around pain.
This is again spoilers for Stormlight Archive for the next 30 seconds or so. But this is a very twisted version of "You Cannot Have My Pain" from Dalinar in
Oh
Oathbringer.
yeah,
This is an
100%.
answer saying you can't have my pain, but this time it's a bad thing.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, that's such a good comparison. There's probably so many people that are like, wow, these guys sure like that Sanderson guy.
Yep.
Book
Hey,
five's coming
listen,
out this year, guys. We're
listen.
so
Like
excited.
like I said on Facebook earlier this year, there was a question on a fantasy Facebook group about like, do you guys try and support local authors? And I said, well, I live in Utah, so I am supporting a local author when I read Brandon Sanderson.
It's true. Yeah, I do love supporting my local authors. There's the two Brandons, Mole and Sanderson.
Yeah, I won't specify which book it is so that I don't dox anyone, but we live here in Utah, and my one of my dad's cousins went to college with Brandon and is in his writing group, and there's a Sanderson book that is dedicated to him.
Oh, that's cool. I think you had mentioned that at one time or another,
That
but I didn't remember that.
that has nothing to do with anything. Just and I've considered being like, hey, dad, can you pull on that thread with your cousin? Can I like meet Sanderson?
I
But
know.
I don't know.
Be cool. He's a busy guy though. Anyways,
That's it for chapter 16.
yeah, very disturbing ending, but I mean they
Quite
chased him out.
overwhelming, yeah.
They chased him out though at least. But yeah,
And then just because they're for the symbolism and the statement, they're going to hold the throne room for a bit.
I thought that was cool.
But also, how good is it Kovian? Because even though he's not in great shape right now, he's still able to kill two Seer Doman without much effort.
Lynching. Well, I thought it was gnarly. They go in with like the archers behind, and as soon as they advance, they all pop up and just l lay him out. No,
Mm-hmm.
like no hesitation. I thought that was like a cool statement of like we're here, we're still fighting. Like we're the gray swords.
We're better than you.
We are so much better than you. We are honorable. It was really cool.
Oh, and then so it's not that's not it for chapter 16. I promise this is the last thing. The final thing of chapter 16 kind of explains what a shield anvil is. I am the shield anvil. I am Fenrir's grief. I am the world's grief, and I will hold.
Yep.
Before I read the summary for it, I just want to point out the epigraph for chapter 17. What the soul can house, flesh cannot fathom.
Hmm.
See that with Ikovian later on.
Oh, 100%.
Okay. Chapter 17. Talk languishes in the grasp of the matron, alternating between dreams of hunting a quarry with wolves and waking to false illusions and images. The seer visits him several times to inform him of the fall of Capistan and to flee from Talk's friends who assail the fortress of Outlook. Talk sees through Baeljag's eyes as the wolf and Tool destroy K'chain Shamal, and Talk returns to his body as the seer leads him and the matron through Amtos Falak. Perron views Capistan by a distance, struck by the sight. He is frustrated by the pace the Barghest have set, but Trotz brings him word that the bridge burners may approach the city. Perron clings to a belief that striking out at the Doman will quell the violence within his own body. The bridge burners approach Capistan's gate. They decide to throw sharpers to scatter the enemy and then cussers to decimate them. As they approach, they realize that the 1,000 bodies in front of the city were not dead, but sleeping, and Hedge throws a cusser forward into the crowd. The ground punches the air from Piran and sets his head ringing. The bridge burners make their way down the main avenue, marveling at what the Grey Swords have done, never yielding until the very end. They reach the ramp of bodies that leads to the roof of Grentel's tenement and climb up. Gruntle takes the torques off of Picker's arm and puts them on himself. He informs the bridge burners that Treach has ascended. Stani has been wounded and Mallet heals her with help from the Barghast spirits. Ansi greets Capustan. The bridge burners have arrived. Picker watches the Panion flee before the Barghast, and she talks with Stani about who or what conspired to get Picker to bring Gruntle the Torques. Picker throws out a hunch that Piran has been communicating with Silver Fox. Ansi is set off by this and threatens to kill Piran, which he accepts. Mallet corrects everyone on what the actual nature of their contact is, and Picker feels horrible. Piran sees a vision of the obelisk card of the Deck of Dragons, which turns into a giant jade pillar. He sees three figures beneath it, and Fenner being pulled down into the mortal realm. He speaks with Nightchill in his mind about Dragnipur and his conversation with Draconis within the sword. Nightchill says that Dragnipur must be destroyed and Draconis freed, which would free everything that the sword has ever killed. Piran refuses and places himself between mortals and gods. He comes to and gathers his soldiers in Gruntle to take to the thrall. Itkovian stands on a palace tower, observing the route of the Panion through the city. He feels empty, as if something has been taken from him. On the way to the thrall, a troop of Barghast offer their respect to the Grey Swords. At the thrall, Piran and Gruntle meet Itkovian, informing the shield anvil that Fenner is gone. Itkovian invokes the Reeve on Rathfenner, chopping off his hands to send them to Fenner's empty realm. Tattoos appear on the priest's arms, but they belong to another entity and devour his body. Rathtrake offers the Grey Swords his god's embrace, but Itkovian refuses and embraces Rathfenner's pain, seeing the priest's entire life, every decision that led to his betrayal. Knowledge and understanding cannot absolve justice, however, and so the priest was made to feel pain before Itkovian's embrace. He denies the alien god's possession of Rathfenner and sees another world with its own layer of atrocities. Itkovian then embraces the entire city of Capustan, guiding each soul along its journey in the afterlife. He nearly crumbles before it, but manages to hold the burden because he is not yet done. Gruntle comes out of the fog that's been holding him for days, disturbed at the physical, mental, and spiritual changes that have come over him. Stani approaches warily, and they banter. Gruntle will refuse to play by Trake's rules, shocking Rathtrake and amusing Piran. Blend explains what's happened to Picker and suggests that they beat up a few of the bridge burners that have been speaking against Piran. The sparrowhawk that was once Buke flies above Capustan, the distance all that's keeping it sane. It will never have to deal with burnt-out buildings and dead wives and children ever again. There is pain in the gifts of the gods, but sometimes there is mercy too. Oh, I got chills reading about Buke. We'll get to that.
Oh yeah, we definitely will. Well, not much
Okay.
happens in this chapter except that Buke portion, so yes.
Will we make that joke about almost every chapter? Most likely.
Most likely, yes. Yes, we will.
What do you think about Talk? I almost made the joke again in the summary that Talk is not doing well, like I did with Piran earlier, but Talk is doing way worse than Piran was.
Oh, awful. He's like in a weird state, like hallucinating, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, I wrote something down about this, but I can't remember. I don't know where my note is, and so I can't remember what I
Oh,
wrote.
yeah. Matt wrote down
But
notes for this episode, guys, and then he lost the notes.
yeah, I don't know where I put my notebook. I probably should like, yeah,
I
no,
mean, we can pause if you want to go look for it real quick.
it'd take too long. I thought it was in my backpack, and it wasn't. So then I was like, I have no idea where it is.
Was it something about his visions that he's having when he's asleep?
No, it
Or,
was more about it's the matron
oh,
and the relationship between her and the seer.
oh, okay.
Because there's an interesting connection that I thought of, but then I didn't realize it. I think it was just more the fact that he mentioned like he had to escape her embrace or something, and now Talk is there.
Oh,
So like he kind of understands that.
ah, okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do. I remember him saying that. I don't remember exactly what he says.
So it just made me think like he's a Jagoot, right? Like that's what the seer is, as far as we can tell. Like all the evidence points to that.
Um,
Um,
I I will neither confirm nor deny.
okay. Anyways, using some is it called deductive reasoning? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
deducing all the information. So probably is. Or deducing the information given. Maybe. I don't know. I
Oh,
don't have a
yeah,
law
yes,
degree.
he is.
But
Yes, he is. I mean, he takes them through Omtos Falak,
yeah, so you can neither confirm nor deny. But yes, he
but I
is.
just did. Yes.
So but it made me think like maybe he went and found the matron, and that's kind of been the source of a lot of this stuff as
Uh-huh.
well. Like, I mean, this is maybe totally wrong, but like he kind of found her in a state of like hibernation or something, and now those two together are working, like she's working through him or using him to bring back something that could change them all undead or something. And that's the
Yeah.
relationship with all that, because maybe she wants to kickstart her group again,
Well,
her
remember
civilization.
earlier with the Malazans, everyone's like, change them all. That's bad, right? And Kylo is like, don't worry. At least there's not a flesh and blood matron out there.
Yeah, and here one is. So it like I don't know, just made me like think of like maybe there's some possibilities there with all that, but
What
yeah, I don't
did you
know.
think of what did you think of Talk's dreams? Running with wolves, not to feed, but to deliver.
Like it was kind of abstract to me a little bit, a little vague. I'm trying to remember kind of what I thought about it, but I just think it's interesting that you keep seeing what's the wolf's name? Baljag?
Oh yeah, Bailjag or Baljag. Keep seeing through her eyes.
But then the seer notices that connection, so keeps trying to break that up. But I
Mm-hmm.
just think it's interesting they keep seeing that and seeing like those events occurring. But like he doesn't in the state he's in because the amount of pain he's going through and just this he doesn't realize or recognize them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so I think it's interesting that he keeps having these visions of wolves, but he can't make sense of any of it.
Yeah, he can't really make sense of anything right now. It's constant pain. The matron is licking him when he like
Yeah,
soils himself,
I know. Poor guy.
constantly crushing his bones and they're growing new,
Yep,
and he's deformed now.
if it wasn't already.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought it was interesting as well that the seer mentioned like she's lost her sanity but looks for something. What was it like a connection of sorts?
Oh, does he say something about it?
I thought he said something about maybe I'm making stuff up again, but that came to mind.
Oh, I don't know.
But oh, I did think it was cool to see Tool just absolutely obliterate something that could change them all.
Yeah,
Like there's
Bailjag
nothing.
takes one down too.
Yeah. No, like after seeing like it's interesting like how much this series kind of looking at this a bigger picture of how much you see the difference of power between some of these beings. Like you have the gray swords that get chain Jamal come out completely destroyed, basically. Like they stand no chance, and it's like one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they threw some not Barghast, Talana Mass against them. They lost a few of them to the Gachin Chamal. And we already know the Talana Mass are pretty powerful, but then to see Tool just completely obliterate some by himself and then Baljak take one out, it's kind of crazy to see the level of abilities and the scale of power between all of them, which I think is kind of fun to see. Now we get Prawn and the Bridge Burners.
Yep, we get Piran and the bridge burners, the sky turning red from the fires above Capistan. That's an image.
Reminds me of driving into Vegas coming from St. George at night. Just the glow from like 10 miles out. You can't even see. You're not even close to the city, but just that glow blocking all the sky and
Yeah.
stuff.
Fortunately, I think this glow represents something worse than Vegas.
Yeah, probably. I mean, cannibals, filling the blood with streets, piles and piles of dead people, zombie-like states, betrayal, a lot of bad things.
It's a bit worse than gambling.
Yeah, a bit worse than gambling, drinking, partying.
Just a bit.
Just a bit. I mean, they're basically the same, but that's a bad comparison. But yeah, I think it's interesting though, like Ron and his continual inner weird fight, like it keeps confusing me a little bit, but
It goes away by the end of chapter 18.
Yeah, but like it's been going on so long, it just kind of like every time I read it, I'm like, dude, what is your deal? Like,
Quick Ben tells him what his deal is later on.
it's
We'll
true.
get there.
We'll get
Um,
there.
yeah, so Trotz comes over and is like, "Hey, good news. Us 37 bridge burners, we can go into the city and do you plan on trying to take it back by yourself? And what about Quick Ben? We'll leave Quick Ben here and retaking the city. We'll try.
We'll do our own thing. We'll kind of get the ball rolling.
We'll throw like three cussers and decimate 1,000 people."
Just the whole bridge burner scene of retaking and just kind of running through the city was probably one of my favorite parts reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just
Oh,
gnarly.
yeah. They get to the city. This is such a small thing, but they meet with like the sappers and the sergeants. And Spindle starts getting ready with the sappers, and Prawn's like, "Wait, wait, 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 wait. I thought you were a mage." "Yeah, and I'm a sapper too. You got a problem with that?" And someone brings up his hair shirt, and he's like, "Oh, see the burned patches from earlier? They're growing back."
It was so gross. Spindler just grosses me out. Like I feel like you can just smell him reading him.
You can smell him, but that hair shirt, something's going on because it's growing back.
Oh, well, I mean, there's always been some going on for a shirt to be made out of his dead mother's hair, and it's a whole shirt. Like that's a lot of hair. Like I don't know anyone with that much hair.
Chewbacca.
Like that's different though. His mom wasn't Chewbacca.
We don't know
Which
that.
is Spindler? Is he half Wookiee?
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, stranger things have happened in this.
Yeah, Prawn's thinking, after all this time, my first battle, and he doesn't even swing his sword.
Nope, they just decimate him with some explosives.
They're like, the word when we throw the cussers is run.
Just go. Because I mean, he describes it. It's a single one can make the intersection of four streets virtually impassable.
If you're less than 30 paces away when you go up, you're diced liver.
Yep.
And then so a bunch of them are sleeping in front of the city, and they wake up, and Hedge does the only thing he can do, and he throws a cusser forward into the crowd, and bomb time, Piran's ears ringing, standard things that happen when a bomb goes off. And then it's like a cartoon when that last thing comes crashing down at the very end.
Hmm.
Piran sits up, and there's just hips in the mud.
Oh yeah. It was pretty gross as well, once again. But I
Pretty
mean,
gross, pretty cool. I mean,
yeah,
explosives do a lot to level the odds in a, I don't know, medieval Dark Ages, maybe a
yeah.
slightly bit later age of fighting.
I thought was it mentioned here, but I thought it was funny as well that they're like, well, what happened to your modified like crossbow to make it easier to
Oh yeah,
launch him? Well,
Hedge broke it.
Hedge broke it and Fiddler took the other one.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was pretty gnarly. I did think I really like this line though in this section that I marked. It's as they're running through and like blowing things up. This is Peron and it's we are their match, the captain realized as he ran, in calculated brutality. But this is a war of nerves where no one wins. Which
Um, because Prawn feels himself shutting down like he did on the road to Kokan at the very beginning of Gardens of the Moon, just blood and death everywhere.
yep, exactly.
And any soul possessing a shred of humanity could not help but see the reality behind cruel deliverance.
It's rather unfortunate that like I mean Prawn hasn't had it easy in terms of the death and carnage after some of these.
When he's staring at the city, Perron thinks, other than the avowed of the Crimson Guard, mercenaries aren't worth it. And then they walk into the city and they see how the battles are laid out, and the Great Swords just gave no quarter, didn't give up anything until they had to, and he's like, maybe I should rethink. Like they might have been okay.
Yeah.
And then they come upon the ramp of human bodies that leads up to the roof of Grentel's building.
Yep. What a mess that building is.
What an image of like a four-story building with a ramp of human bodies.
And like that is a like you like when I think of ramp, I think of like basically just a triangle propped up. But like bodies don't really stack that way. Like that is a mound.
Yeah, it's not a ramp, it's just a hill.
Yeah, which is just like this was a massacre, this whole event, which is I mean just once again, it's terrible, it's awful.
Yeah.
But
And now we're here. Now I can show you that picture of Gruntle that I couldn't show you last week because spoilers.
oh yeah, let's see it.
There you go.
Oh, I see. Isn't
Yep.
that the like original hardcover artwork?
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. I wish these trade mass markets had the original artwork. I think they'd look so much better, I think.
Yeah. We just saw, so they just announced this week as we're recording this, the new they showed the new Gardens of the Moon cover for Broken Binding, and it looks incredible.
I want one. I saw someone commented. I actually went to that to find the link, that Reddit one that you showed me. And then someone linked the French version of Gardens of the Moon. And I thought,
Hmm.
I think you'd shown that to me because I saw, I was like, oh, okay, that one is awesome as well.
The French versions are so much better.
Like, I don't know what happened because I mean, I think it's Toll of the Hounds. Like one of the original hardcovers, like it's like kind of snowy. I don't know anything like what it relates to the story.
Oh, the Bone Hunters, I think.
Bone Hunters, that yeah, I think it's Bone Hunters.
Yep.
And it looks awesome. I love the artwork
Uh-huh.
for it. For some like I don't know, I just really like it. And then I see like
Oh,
the
wait.
pictures,
Maybe it's Midnight Tides, actually. I don't know. One of those.
one of those. But yeah, then I see some of these and I'm like Gardens of the Moon, like it's kind of lame. Memories of Ice is like one of the most generic looking covers ever, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe this is just me being a bit nitpicky, but like
This
it's just all
sucks.
right. Yeah,
The
no,
mass
it's not
market
great.
cover for Memories of Ice, it sucks.
Like seeing that, like for those who don't know, the picture that Nate just showed me was a book Memories of Ice, a hardcover original.
Yeah, the one I showed Matt a picture of Gruntle. I may take out all that waiting, but I showed him the original hardback cover for Memories of Ice, and it's Gruntle and Stani standing on top of this building that we just got to, and it looks awesome. And
Yeah,
then the mass market paperback is generic soldier standing in front of flames,
yeah. Like Memories of Ice, that doesn't feel like ice. That feels like lava.
and no one uses fire. I mean, not no one uses fire. No one uses an axe in this book. There's not been a single axe used, I think.
There was a hatchet against a Covian, I guess, but
Oh, yeah. But that's like a workman, that's like a worker's hatchet. No one has used a war axe.
yeah. There's our rant of the covers, but anyways.
Yep. So then they get to the roof. There's hostility until they find out who each other are. And Prawn's like, there's something about that dude and his people. And Trotz is like, yeah, really? I couldn't tell.
I love just some of the dry like sarcasm between some of them. I do feel a little bit bad for Prun because in this moment, wasn't it Picker? He was kind of like, yeah, I think it was Picker. That was like, you've been hiding stuff. What's your deal? And Prawn's like, actually, I haven't been hiding anything. Like, I don't know anything that's going on.
Yeah. Malleth's like, so I know some stuff. He's not hiding anything. It immediately sets off paranoid Ansi, and he's like, well, let's kill him. And Prawn just turns his back and is like, go ahead. I'm in pain.
He's like, yeah, you'd probably be doing me a favor anyways. As sad as that
Uh,
is. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, probably it's just like he's going through something.
before that happens, though, Gruntle takes Picker's torques that she got way back at the very beginning that were
Yep.
aspected to Treach, and they just so happen to make their way to Gruntle.
Pretty cool, I think. Don't know what they do, but I mean, that was kind of a neat little, it's like side quest complete.
We get yet another blend. Where in the abyss are you hiding, woman? And then from right beside Braun, I'm here.
I swear, it's what? It's like, it's like that joke, like, do I need to put a bell on you?
Well, no, because then she wouldn't be blend anymore.
That's true. She'd
That
be Belle.
that's her specialty is she sneaks around and finds out gossip and hears what people are saying.
It's true.
And then Mallet heals Stunny again with the help of the gods. I think it's because they know that to keep Gruntle where he's at as far as like the mortal sword, Stunny's got to be alive.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then I just really love the last sentence. Hello, Capustan. The bridge burners have arrived.
I was gonna mention that as I was reading on the train and I immediately like marked it with my pen. I was like, that is the like most epic cliche movie thing ever. I loved it.
It's straight out of like a Saving Private Ryan or war movie. Like
Oh,
they're standing
100%.
on a destroyed building in a destroyed city with smoke rising around them. Like,
And they're
hello,
like, we're here.
we're here.
D- We made it. Which I mean, if you think about it, like 30 guys who went decimated with their weapons, an entire like group, like, 1,000 of them, like
Hmm.
they're pretty legit, which is so good. Such a good
And
one.
then and then their healer heals a woman that he shouldn't have been able to because the Warrens are poisoned. But
Oh, I
um,
loved it. I got chills.
yeah. The next section we get a bunch of tactics that I don't want to go into because I'm really bad at battle tactics in books.
Yeah. Oh, there's some
Um,
of this that we could have skipped. There wasn't much.
Picker and Stunny have a chat.
Yeah, I didn't see much
Um,
there. We got Piran in his vision.
oh yeah. Yeah, what did you think of Night Chill and Piran?
That was kind of funny. Because I
Funny,
mean,
huh?
I like in a certain degree, like maybe I should explain it. Because I felt like I thought it was kind of funny because it felt like Piran for a moment. He just needed to vent.
Oh,
And
definitely.
and so like I thought it was funny. He's like, "No, you look. I'm telling you what's up." And she's like, "Actually, no, sorry, bud. Like we've been kind of keeping you in the dark on purpose, but here's actually what's happening in the plan." And he's like, "Oh, okay." But
Yeah. I'm not going to tell you everything, but this really is Piran talking to a goddess being like, "Listen up, bitch.
yeah. He's like,
I'm not playing your games. I got used by Opan. You can go ask what happened to them."
yeah. He's like, this isn't my first rodeo. He's like, I've been playing with gods for a minute. Yeah.
Um, yeah. We did skip before he talks to Night Chill. He sees the obelisk, the deck of dragons. It turns into a giant green pillar, and he sees three figures there,
Oh, yep.
and Fenrir is pulled down.
Game over, Fenner.
Game over Fenrir, but that is what did you expect to see a scene from Deadhouse Gates in this book?
I felt like there'd be something, but and like with how much Fenner's been talked about, I had been like wondering in the back of my mind if we would see like the obelisk scene or like maybe something referenced. So like it didn't catch me too off guard, but I thought it was really cool to see.
It also gives us maybe a bit of timeline. I mean, I don't think it's happening as he's seeing it because in the book there's time that passes between when they find the jade thing and when Fenrir's pulled down, but
Yeah.
gives a little bit of a connection on when things are taking place. I really like Piran asking Night Chill, Abyss take you, is pain your only means of making us achieve what you want?
Yeah. He's like, well, it's been a fairly decent tactic for a while.
Yeah. There is nothing predictable in Animander Rake. Perhaps that is what frightens you so. Talking about Rake, and maybe he might not kill me if he found out I went into his sword and escaped. Do you think he would? He might not.
Yeah. I think Rake is for how much we've seen him and like we see his interaction with Whiskey Jack a little later on, but I think he's more of a chiller guy than some of these guys think he is.
I mean, when your first impression of him is standing on a mountain in the sky and decimating your army and killing thousands, you're gonna have that's a first impression.
But then later you see him at just like a gala with his mask on, chilling with his buddies, I guess, or his associates. And then it's like, let me go fight this demon real quick. I'll be right back.
offering to
Like,
be Ralagnam's second because I don't like how you're talking right now.
yeah, like just kind of casual stuff. Like, I feel like the more we learn about him, the more I like Rake. Like, yeah, first impression is he decimates your entire army, but you kind of poke the bear. Like, that's on you. So,
I meant to, before we recorded this, I meant to go back and read Perron's conversation with Draconis in Gardens of the Moon, because we find out that old man that he talked to when he was in the sword was Draconis, the Elder God.
oh, that's right.
I meant to go back and read that conversation, but I didn't, so I can't remember what was said.
Me
But
neither.
the essence of it boils down to Nightchill says Dragnapur needs to be broken so that Draconis can come out and like fight against the crippled god. And Perron's like, wait, but that would release everything the sword has ever killed, right? Yeah, it would.
Yeah, I feel like these gods, like the more we read about like the crippled god in the situation, we get a little more of Pran's thinking of like what he should do. I'm like, I feel like they did what they needed to do, but then now they're going about it the wrong way.
Hmm.
Like, well, we need Draconis. Like, we need to get him out of the sword. It's like, well, he's in there and he kind of got himself in there. Why would we destroy the thing holding him and a million other things? Well, Cripple God's worse. And you're like, is it though? Is there not another way we can handle
She does make
this?
kind of a good point. Like, if there's anyone that could make it so that everything is not released, it's Draconis.
It's true.
So if we work on getting Draconis out, then maybe he could stop everything else.
Yeah. So I mean, but like, I don't know. I could see why some of the mortals now are just like, you gods aren't doing what you should be doing. You're being kind of dumb.
Yeah, and Nightchill being like, the one who cursed me, he's the only one. That's my sole purpose is to get vengeance on him. And I'm surprised he's still around. Well, that was my curse on him. So,
So dumb. Like example, another example of like the gods like not making the brightest decisions.
are you saying they should have just killed Calor?
Maybe. Just kind of been like, yeah, you're gone. You're done.
I'm beginning to think you all deserve each other. Perhaps we do, Gnos Perron.
I feel like some of these mortals are like, can we just like lock you all in a room for a while and just say, sort out your issues, you're bugging us, and stop like meddling, making us meddle in your affairs.
I mean, later on, I think it's Perron that has this thought, or maybe it's Quick Ben. It's Quick Ben. In chapter 18, he's like, okay, gods, time for you to take a step back and let us mortals have a turn. You're in for a surprise.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool thing. And like I feel like that's where it's setting up. Like this book has been kind of setting up in like a theme that this series has been going through so far up to this point is like there's a lot of reawakening of elder stuff and a lot of things are starting to be moved, but the mortals are like, hang on now, we've seen this pattern too many times. We're not gonna let this play out how you think it's gonna play out.
I mean, even in Gardens of the Moon, is it Krupp that tells Race, the mortals are the powerful ones now and the gods are slaves?
Yeah, I mean we see that with Fenner.
Yep. So there's another bit of explanation for you for why followers are having such big impacts on their gods. Next section is Itkovian. I don't have a ton to say here, at least not until they get to the courtyard at the Thrall. Um,
And
they sewed the prince's skin back on to his body, which is like, that's weird and gross.
yeah, like I understood the idea like to kind of show respect, but at the same time I feel like they should have just made a casket or something, or like a pyre and just burned everything.
Yeah, there you go.
Like I feel like that would have been a little more respectful, but I don't know. It's the culture of these guys, so they do them.
Yeah. As they're going through the city, though, some Barghasts meet them and are like, we've been seeing what happened in the city. We would really, really, really hate to have you guys as enemies. And what about his allies? And they just salute.
Yeah. No, that was another spot I kind of got chills. This has been like one of my favorite sections to read now.
Oh,
Like you mentioned it
absolutely.
earlier, and that like the more we talk about it, the more I'm realizing like, oh yeah, this is like kind of forgot a little bit how awesome this was. Like the Barghast, these like this warrior like group is like, yeah, no, you guys made our job a lot easier. We could tell the damage you guys did. Like you guys are, you mean serious business.
And we're gonna walk at your sides because behind you in your shadow is honor, and we haven't earned that yet. You did.
Yeah. I was like, wow, this is so good. This is so cool. But now we get to see them drag out the traitor.
Yeah. The oh, as soon as Kovian sees Gruntle, he's like, "That's it. We're replaced." He knows it
Yeah.
immediately. Piran's like, "If you want it, you can be Trake's shield anvil." And Kovian's like, "No, no thanks."
We got something else to do.
Piran turns to Humboltar and is like, "You can leave. Your children would be happy to see you." Nah, I'm gonna watch this.
He's like, I gotta see this unfold. But then we see
Uh,
a Covian get the justice in this.
yeah, Wrathfenner fights against it. Only the Mortal Sword can invoke the Reeve, and Gruntel's like, "I'm a Mortal Sword. Does that count?
Like
I'm a
he's
Mortal
like,
Sword of another god of war. That counts, right?"
I know. But I love how Covian's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Fenner's gone and you betrayed us. He's like,
Yeah.
I am the hand of justice now.
Your god no longer waits within his realm. He won't be able to take the hands. And Prawn's like, "Yeah, he knows. This is what happens when it gets personal."
Yeah. No, I thought that was pretty wild that he just is like, no, this is he's like, I don't care what you guys are saying. This is our business to handle. This is my job.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So hands get chopped off. They vanish. A Kovian sword turns into like an iron or something for a second, and he cauterizes them. And it's not Fenner, but like this alien being sends tattoos over Wrathfenner's body and starts taking him.
Yep. I have no idea what any of
This
that
is
is, but
it feels very like Lovecraftian, like a presence from beyond reaching out.
I think it's interesting that he can just kind of absorb all that grief and pain,
What the soul can house, flesh cannot fathom.
which made me think of this was a note I remember. Ikovian's vows. I mentioned it earlier, like how he made extra vows, and then he's like, "Why did I do that?" And I think that plays a part into him developing a higher standard that allows him to
Oh,
do
there
that.
you go.
So like even when people are like, "Well, you did this to yourself," I think it's like he did it to himself because he understood his role. Like he wanted to place himself in a better position.
Yeah. And it's gonna be such a burden that when Kovian offers Fenner his embrace, like the priest recoils because he knows what it's gonna be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got a little bit emotional during this part because Kovian sees his entire life and he's like, "Oh, I understand why you're here."
Yeah.
He sees every little decision. What often happens in religions is he got caught up in the bureaucratic aspect of it instead of the actual faith.
Which is rather unfortunate. And it made me like when you mentioned that kind of made me just think of like just in general, like that perspective of him like kind of adds to like gives the reasoning and not always justification, but like how you can be more sympathetic or empathetic towards them. Of like,
Hmm.
okay, I can see what happened here, like what laid out, which I thought was really cool. But I really liked because after seeing all that, he still is like that. He's like, that doesn't mean like you're forgiven. He's like, you still made the decision.
You made the decision, so you were made to know pain,
Yep,
but then I'm offering you mercy as
yep.
well. And he takes the priest away from the alien god's embrace. He opens himself up to the grief of the whole city, and he's like, "Oh, even gods weep." And then he calls the god Sir and says, "I will have your pain as well, sir." And the god says no and retreats. Yeah, here's another explanation for you for the relationship between gods and mortals. It was not the gods themselves who were unfathomable, it was mortals. As for the gods, they simply paid. We are the rack upon which they are stretched. Yeah, the god retreats, and Ikovian is left with an impression of a whole other world, with its own layers of atrocities.
Yeah. Makes me think of what else is out there. that we still have yet to know and discover.
I'm getting chills again just glancing over this part because then I must give answer to every death, and he guides them along their journeys to multiple gods, to Hood, to the abyss, to wherever the soul wants to go.
I thought it was really cool what Okovian did because they're all like, you don't have to do this. He's like, but I must. This is why I'm here.
I think we get some of Ikovian's vows here. You are the walker among the dead in the field of battle. You are the bringer of peace, the redeemer of the fallen. You are the mender of broken lives. Without you, death is senseless, and the denial of meaning is the world's greatest crime to its own children.
Yeah. I think that's a cool line.
Yep. He cleanses the entire city and stands up and says, I am not yet done.
Once again,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, well, I can still go. I'm gonna keep going.
Oh,
Okovian's cool.
I think that's the understatement of the episode.
We'll just leave it as that. He's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that just shows how good Erickson is though at building a character.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's very well done, I think. Just to be able to build someone like that. It kind of have that effect. But then after that we see Gruntle leaving the fog, right?
Yeah. Gruntle leaves the fog. He and Stunny banter. Gruntel's like, I'm a caravan guard. And Rathdrake, you are the mortal sword of the god of war. That's a hobby. We'll call that a hobby. I'm a
I don't
caravan
know.
guard.
And Rathtrick is like, well, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, he's like, he made a mistake. He shouldn't pick me. He's like, no, but you must. He's like, yeah, I don't care.
The whiskered one picked the wrong guy.
He's like the whiskered one, and Prawn's like, I like this guy. He picked a good dude.
Yeah, Prawn's like, you go, bro. Show him what's up.
He's like, we ain't gonna be pushed around anymore.
And then Gruntle sheathes his swords, and the priest is like, you do not put away your swords until the war is over.
He's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Just walk
Gruntel's like,
around with
shut
swords?
up. You say anything else, and I'll take them back out and kill you.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny.
And Blend and Picker at the edge of the courtyard are like, Prawn's a good commander. I don't think he's gonna stick a knife in us. He'd stand in front of his knife coming towards us.
Yeah.
Um, should we go get Detorin and beat up Antsy and some of the others?
Yeah, I'm glad they came to that realization though, finally, that they're like, oh wait, Braun's not a bad guy. He just has some issues, some baggage.
I mean,
Yeah,
he's the master of the deck. He's one of the most important people in the world. You can forgive him.
yeah.
And then we have Buke. It doesn't matter how many times I read this, that will always make me tear up.
Buke, eh?
Buke just flying above the city, seeing everything and seeing the fires and never having to deal with burned wives or children.
Yeah,
And it goes back to Perron's conversation with Nightchill. There was pain in the gifts of the Elder Gods, but sometimes there was also mercy.
yeah. No, I thought it was kind of neat to see Buke's perspective for a minute.
Yeah, so Caruli gave him more than just the soul taken form. He gave him
An escape.
closure, escape, whatever you want to call it. It's just
Yeah,
this super mini arc that we don't see Buke very much, but it all comes together at the end.
yeah. But
So,
that's chapter 17 then.
yeah, I have a feeling you loved chapter 18, especially Quick Ben.
I was so excited. It was just nice. Like there was just some good exposition, I think it's called, just some good information, not over the top, some good character building and connections.
Yep. The birth of the Barghast gods ringing like a hammer on the bell of the Pantheon. That's fun.
Oh yeah. That was a cool epigraph. Yeah, I was like, isn't that the really long one?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one.
This is the longest summary so far, I think. Quick Ben wakes up to find Telemandus nearby. The Styxnir and the Barghast gods have heard the wizard's ramblings and decided to trust him. Telemandus offers himself as a shield between Quick and the poison in the Warrens, and Quick infers that Hood, the Queen of Dreams, and others have been involved in the process. They prepare to attempt to use a Warren. Whiskey Jack thinks about the Malazan warfare strategy, which I am too dumb to summarize. He receives a message from Caladan Brood telling him the battle is finished and the Septarch is dead. Corlat appears to take Whiskey Jack by warren to Dujek's tent. Within the warren, Corlat expresses not faith, but certainty in Animander Rake, and the couple share a moment. Within the command tent, Whiskey Jack speaks with Quick Ben about the state of things before he and Corlat discuss what to do with the Panion soldiers and Teniscowry. Whiskey Jack fails a test when he continues to claim Dujek's army as outlawed, and Corlat leaves. He thinks to himself that Lassine's knife has been at their throats in the camp the entire time. Dujek comes in, and as they discuss what to say, Artanthos arrives with news that Brood has called a council. The Mib compares her blanket to the landscape of her dreams, and her wagon bed to the Nathi coffins. A Rivi woman who was kicked in the head by a Badarin and never looks at anyone combs her hair. The Mib thinks that a mother giving birth splits her in two and drains her of life. The comb snags in her hair, and she glares up at the Rivi woman, who is staring directly into her eyes. Two reflected prisons. Silver Fox and Krupp speak by the fire about her destiny and her mother. She informs Krupp of the impending council, and he decides to attend. She feels a sudden urge to do so as well, but mistrusts Nightchill. Krupp says that everyone distrusts parts of themselves sometimes, except for him, of course. Rake appears and reasons that Whiskey Jack and Dujek are only following orders of the Empire as soldiers. Rake and Brood's motives on Genabacchus aren't even entirely clear to themselves, and to the Empire they must seem baffling. The Malazan occupation is among the least oppressive Rake has ever seen, and it even makes some places better. They are aligned on the same goal for right now and shouldn't endanger the Alliance. When the Malazan commanders arrive, they discuss the disposition of forces moving forward and decide that the final confrontation will be at Quarrel. Silverfox and Krupp pause, sensing the storm is passing in the command tent. Silverfox leaves for the second gathering, and Krupp asks to accompany her. She agrees. Rake asks Whiskey Jack to walk with him as he leaves the command tent. They walk to a hill on the edge of the Catlin River. Rake says he'd believed Corlat's heart forever closed, and reveals that he calmed the meeting before the Malazans arrive. Rake says he still needs them, and he needs Perron to deny the sanctioning of the House of Chains. Legitimizing the crippled god will give him even more power than he already has. Rake explains how Fenrir was pushed from his realm. Haboric's receiving of the Reeve was not pure, motivated by outside factors to reduce Fenrir's and Haboric's influence within the Empire. Fenrir thus could not touch his hands. He marked Haboric with the tattoos, and when Haboric died, Fenrir planned to wreak his retribution upon the Malazan Empire. However, when Haboric touched the jade statue, it severed that link, and chaos pushed Fenrir from his warren. Whiskey Jack says that it's damn convenient treats just happened to ascend at the same time, and Rake says he believes that the Elder Gods have been very involved, because they understand the threat. Whiskey Jack says he finds the river calming, but Rake feels the opposite. The commander offers to retrieve ale for the two of them, and when he looks back, he sees Dragnapur sitting like a cross upon the Lord of Darkness's back. Quick Ben wraps himself in the Rashan warren to move undetected through Capustan. He comes upon Beauchelain and Corbelbroach's estate and uses Hood's warren to sneak past the undead guards, noting that the city has been cleansed. He partially enters Errol Gamelon to free the demon Beauchelain has summoned, and then he uses the Driss warren to travel through the walls of the manor. He emerges from the wall and has a wonderful conversation with Beauchelain. Emancipor Reese brings them what he thinks is wine, but turns out is blood. Beauchelain says it's virgin's blood, and he can tell because it tastes wooden. Perron sits in the Thrall's council chamber and thinks about his role as master of the deck. He has no idea where to begin, and he thinks again that he's the wrong choice. He also concludes that the Elder Gods can't be involved as much as it seems, otherwise everything would be preset and have no meaning. The gods must use opportunity and chance to their advantage. Kafal enters to examine the canoes, and Perron joins him, finding an ancient sword hidden in a boat, one of many. The Barghest will train their children to use the swords. Kafal asks Perron to bless his god, and Perron says he'll think about it. After Reese brings them actual wine, Beauchelain and Quickben discuss demonic summoning and the poisoning of the warrens. Quickben says he doesn't rival the gods, but he does beat them at their own game sometimes. Beauchelain is entertained, but Corbelbroach wants to kill him. Broach attacks from his place as a crow on the mantelpiece, and Quickben blasts him with 6 warrens. Beauchelain is impressed enough to consider torturing Quickben for his secrets, but the wizard blasts Beauchelain as well. He passes Reese in the courtyard, and the manservant calls them all insane. Quickben decides to use Cirque to travel over the street of Barghest, using Telemandus' power to do so. He reaches for it and realizes the stick snare is Hood's through and through, likely the Magi of High House Death. He grasps hold of Hood's cloak and pulls the god close. Hood says the House of Chains must be denied as it's finding adherents in the Pantheon. However, Quickben is focused on the poison to burn and the Warrens. Quick warns the god he'd better hold to his end of the bargain with Talamandus or the Barghast gods won't forget. He says Hood had better back off. Haran can't sleep. Wandering through the empty thrall leads him to think about his sisters and his family's fates. Gruntle joins him on the front steps and they commiserate that neither understands their role or wants it, which might just make them the best candidates. Haran thinks he should sanction the House of Chains, and Gruntle agrees because it forces the crippled god to play within the rules of the game. If not, at least they'll have company and eternal punishment. Quick appears and tells Perron to do whatever his instincts are telling him to. Perron's sickness came from resisting himself rather than resisting the power. Quickben thinks to himself that the gods need to let mortals take the lead now, and they're in for some surprises. The Capustan citizens emerge from the tunnels in darkness, a time chosen by Itkovian to ease the transition to the destroyed city. He and the Grey Swords show that life will go on, that the defenders still stand. He thinks about the future of the Grey Swords. Without their god, they are no different from any other band of mercenaries. He knows of two other gods aspected to war and motions to a messenger to bring the captain. They have something to do. They ride to the Barghast camp and meet with some old women who assign to the two Grey Swords the titles of Destriant and Shield Anvil. The mortal sword, a man, has been found already. The Grey Swords will now kneel before Tog and Fanderay, the long-lost wolf gods of war.
Ooh,
It's a
that was
long
quite a
one.
bit.
Quippen wakes up to find Talamandus. I mean, the first thing that I wanted to point out is that Talamandus is like, "Do you know what the Warrens are?" And Quickpen's like, "Yeah, it's Krill's blood. Every time we use magic, we swim through his blood." Something that Lady Envy did not know and was shocked to find out. And Talamandus is like, "No one knows that. No one knows everything you just said. How do you know that?"
Quick Pen cracks me up every single time, and this whole interaction with him in Talamandus is just like, well, then I do this, this, and this. Why are you doing that? Well, I just need to know like how this works and like have like my limits of everything, and like this is how this works. He's like, you should know that. Like this isn't a thing that you should be knowing. Like w what?
What is this Warren? There's a Warren of demons.
He's like, yeah, no, you use it like this. It's kind of a bit more advanced. Then there's also this other Warren that's loosely connected to it that you do this, and he's like. He's just dumbfounded. It's so funny.
Mm-hmm. And Quickben, like, oh, so he like works through the logic, which we don't have the numbers to the like we don't have the formula to the equation, but he's like, okay, so you're this. Hood definitely was involved, probably the Queen of Dreams with some blessings, your own gods, of course, maybe some others, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got a stick there that's able to resist the poison.
He's like, so you guys are now working for him, but you don't really know. So let me see what I can do to kind of help you guys along. Make sure nothing bad happens to you.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny.
My gods have decided to trust you.
Great. I know more than they do.
Yeah, and then we've got Whiskey Jack thinking about the Malazan strategy.
I
Basically, the Malazans are just really good at war.
I really enjoyed that section, not gonna lie.
I was too dumb to summarize it,
Yeah.
and I just didn't want to, but
No, I get that. When you said that, I was like, yeah, no, that's valid. It's like you kind of just have to read it. But I thought it was cool just to understand more or less how they fight and like some of their strategies to combat. But
yep, gets a message. Caladan Brood holds that whatever flank he's on.
yeah,
Um, Step Coldpath is dead. Someone did a David and Goliath and shot a sling stone through his forehead.
I thought that was so funny. I was like, that sounds familiar. Where did that
Yeah,
come from?
and the messenger puts it like one of the Rivi gave him a third eye.
Thought that was awesome.
Corlat takes Whiskey Jack through the Warren. I liked that part.
That was funny.
You've considerable faith in your Lord, haven't you, Corlat? There is sufficient precedent to disregard notions of faith when it comes to my Lord. I am comforted by certainty.
Yeah,
Like, well, if you've got tens of thousands of years with your Lord and he always delivers,
yeah.
I mean, that,
You don't
that
re-
sounds good to me.
yeah, you don't really have to worry.
And then he's like, and what about me?
And she's like, yes.
What about me? Do you like me? Like, am I okay?
Yeah. She's like, and then I love her response of like every faceted question to that question is a
Yeah, the answer
yes.
to every facet of that question is yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then, are you gonna ask me? I don't need to. And she's like, males, you're the same, no matter what race you are.
Yeah. It's like it just reminds me of like Han Solo and Leia. I love you. I know.
Fun fact, that line was ad lib.
Oh
That was
yeah,
not in the
wasn't it?
script.
Because what was it? Harrison Ford was like, I think you'd say this.
Uh-huh.
It was
He
well
may
done.
have hated playing Han Solo, but he understood Han Solo.
Oh, he definitely did.
They get to Jujak's command tent, and Whiskey Jack's like, if all of this was just to get me alone. Ah, the ego.
I was dying.
Quick Ben appears in such a weird comment, like, what a charming sight. Hood knows the last time I had a woman. Like, come on.
I feel like that's just Quick Ben though. He's gonna make dumb comments like that.
Yeah, and Whiskey Jack grins later, so he gets it.
Yeah, they've been around each other long enough. But I think it's interesting Corlat's questioning of Whiskey Jack, and he's like, of
Like,
the
yeah, this is not a Malazan war. We're outlaws, remember?
yeah.
Nope, they're not.
He's like, are you sure though? Yeah, but we're yeah, yeah, yeah. You're lying to me.
Yep. And I think we've seen this phrase before, but he walked into it wide-eyed stupid.
He's like, ah, I screwed that up. And then he's like, I need to go talk to Juju.
I need to have a drink. Which just like they know. What do they know? That we're not outlawed. That's enough, right?
He's like, ah, well, how do we fix this? But our man, our guy, Son of Darkness.
Yeah. What did you think first off of Whiskey Jack thinking, yeah, Lacine's knife is right here in the camp at our throats?
Oh, the standard bearer, right? That's what I
Well,
thought.
maybe. Grapho.
Yeah, there's the claw there. Poke, poke. You guys better do it or chain.
Poke, poke. That's what the claw's gonna do. Come into the command tent and do some poke pokes.
Yeah. I'm trying. I'm
Anyways.
trying. Well, it made me think of this movie scene. I'm just trying to remember what it was and what movie. Like I can kind of visualize the scene, but for the life of me, I cannot remember who is in the movie, what the movie was, or what the scene was about.
Oh,
Like it
I
just
have
made me
no
think of
idea.
that. I have no idea either. It's I'm it's too late for me to be trying to think about it. Oh, it's gonna bug me now. What movie was it?
I mean, we have been going for 2 hours now.
Oh, Robin Hood, animated. You probably like
Haven't
it's
seen that in forever.
like super like random scene, but it's when he like holds the king at the archery tournament with the knife behind his back, I think, or something.
Oh,
Do you
okay.
remember that? And he like kind of pokes him with the
Kind
dagger,
of.
and he's like, "You better do what I'm telling you to do."
Yeah, and it's played for
Yeah,
laughs because it's an animated Disney movie from the 50s, but
yeah,
that's yeah.
yeah.
Also, what did you think of their conversation about the Teniscari and like how accountable do you hold an empire's people and soldiers for what the empire does? Because this is also a
Yeah.
catch-22 situation. Because Dujik and Whiskey Jack are like, okay, so we're not slaughtering 200,000 peasants,
No.
but also we can't feed them, we can't guard them. What do we do?
No, I when he was brought up, like this is the one thing I was thinking about earlier of just like kind of the like what was it? It just made me think like, well, you're like two ways to think about it, like to maybe unfortunately, I guess maybe justify it. It's like these people I feel like could have rebelled, you know? Like we've seen it through history, like people rebelling against their leaders instead of just following them. But
They could have, but you've also got to remember that they're also a bunch of fanatics that see the seer as like the avatar of a god.
yeah, I guess that's true. So I mean like
Um,
maybe then the justification they're beyond a point of saving. Like if like they're in a frenzied like state.
yeah, I do think that's also Whiskey Jack's point, though, is like they're not beyond saving, and then Korlak hits him back like, "You slaughter soldiers," without giving it a second thought. It was just like they're soldiers. Like
Yeah.
it's not too different, but there's a distinction.
Yeah. And it's like I don't know, like it's a tough thing for them to think about and debate, but like part of me thinks like it's justified of just like they're in such a friendly, like frenzied state, the things they've done, I feel like kind of is just beyond saving in a sense. Like maybe you do kill their like the seer and then they just lash out at you because they're like, you killed our god. You killed the avatar or something of our god. And like
Yeah.
you destroyed a religious thing to us. And so then they would want to kind of fight for that in the name of their religion. So then at that point it's like there's 200 of them, there's not much we can do. It kind of is a mercy just to let them all go to hood.
Yeah, but then Ikovian later obviously doesn't think they're beyond saving.
Yeah. So
So
how,
I don't think there's a definitive answer here, but it's fun that Erickson is willing to bring up these things and be like, think about it. Think
good
about the
luck.
sides. Yeah, good
Good
luck.
luck, guys. Come up with your decision. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Like I'm for and against, but I think it's just there's so many variables that yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite Mibe sections of the book. That's what's up next. Her in
It's a
the
solid
wagon
one.
and comparing her wagon to the Nathi coffins, which the way she describes it makes it seem like, yeah, they have this weird tradition where they make boxes out of wood and bury them in the ground.
To us, that's normal here.
Yep. A vessel of life, now a vessel of death.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought that was a interesting thing though of like now it
Yeah.
of just kind of the extension, but
Yeah. Am I to be naught but food for my daughter's burgeoning life? A final meal, a mother reduced to nothing more than sustenance? Silver fox, are you every daughter? Am I every mother?
yeah. It reminded me of when you talked about motherhood, I
Yeah.
think, with D and J.
Yeah, I jumped a bit I jumped forward a bit on that because this is where this is the section that makes that abundantly clear.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it was kind of the picture has been painted the entire
Yeah.
time, and this is the culmination of it, of like explicitly stating kind of,
And then the Rivi woman who does never looks at anyone looks at the Mibe. I'm a young woman in an old woman's body, she a child in a woman's body, two prisons in perfect reflection, eyes locked.
yeah. I thought that was, I feel like this is common, just like social commentary for people in these situations,
Yep.
and just like maybe think of how you can work with them, I guess, and help them.
Yeah, and how to help but how some parents feel where they love their
Yeah.
child, but also children drain.
Oh, yeah. No, it's true. But I mean, I feel like that's everything though. Like, if you think about it in a grand scheme, like a business, like a person that starts a business, they're giving their life to that business to let it grow. Or like, I very much think of it the same way I do in the medical field. Like the amount of time
Mm,
someone dedicates to become a surgeon or a doctor, and just that, like how much they do, and then that's their whole life is just giving their life for other people to have better lives, I guess. That's like what I feel like this in the grant, like in a bigger picture, kind of describes as well, of like the effect it can kind of take on some people.
hmm
I mean, the obvious one is like motherhood and like very much you're kind of draining. Like, come from a young guy, unmarried, no girlfriend or anything, but like from my health, some of the health classes, I know like like when a woman does give birth and gets pregnant, like the amount of drastic physical changes kind of to their body that are, from my understanding, not reversible is kind of crazy from what I've heard.
Postpartum depression can
Hmm.
slam into you too.
Oh yeah, like it's like there's a lot of stuff I've never known, which I mean is just due to like my age and inexperience. So like, but the more I learn about it, the more I'm like, that's wild that like that's what you go through.
hmm
So, anyways,
Krupp and Silver Fox have a conversation outside the wagon. Silver Fox is right there, and the Maid thinks that Silver Fox doesn't care. But Krupp is like, here, have some sage tea. It's supposed to be good for coughs. Krupp, of course, never coughs. And why not? Because I drink sage tea.
I love Krups. Anything about this, it made me laugh.
Will you attend the council? Indeed, if only to bless them with with Krupp's awesome wisdom.
Yeah, but she's off on her adventure now.
Silver Fox mistrusts Nightchill, who she thinks is the part of her that's telling her to go to the council. And Krupp is like, most mortals occasionally fail in trusting parts of themselves.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Doubting your
Yeah,
abilities.
it's a good observation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have those thoughts that come into our head where we're like, where did that come from? Why did I think that?
Who are you and where'd you come from in my brain? I don't
Yep.
remember you being there.
Or dreaming.
Oh, there's some gnarly dreams I've had that I'm always like, where did that come from?
Where in where in my subconscious?
What happened here? Yeah, like some days I'll wake up, I'm like I've had some very like vividly strange, like kind of horrific nightmares, and I'm like, where did that come from? Like I'm not a fan of like horror movies or books or anything. Like I don't read or watch any of that. So some of the dreams I've had, I'm like, that was strange. Like where did that come from?
Yep. And then we get the conversation. Rake appears out of his warren into the command tent, and they're like, we have to do something. They've been lying to us. And he's like, yeah, I know. Give me your arguments. I'll refute them.
Break, like I jumped the gun a little bit, but our man, Son of Darkness, take two. Officially, when he actually comes in, saves the day.
Yes.
And like his just cold like logic of like, you guys are dumb. And what why does that matter?
Yeah, like we don't even know what we're doing here on Gennabagus. We don't even know exactly why we're fighting.
Yeah.
We must, to the Malazans, we must seem like an almost absurd level of generosity and self-righteousness.
Because he's like, you gotta think, like the two ports that they've taken over now rival like Darujistan. Like the effect they've had is insane. Like they're here to like improve things and grow and build.
Yeah. And when Rake says that an empire's laws are among the least oppressive he's ever known, you could probably trust that because he's seen
Yeah.
probably thousands of empires come and go.
Yeah. Which is just insane. Like the more like this is like this and Itkovian scene just kind of reminds me of like how much just taking a moment to think about the other side and maybe their reasoning can like
Yes.
help you resolve some of the issues. Because he's like, why are we fighting them? He's like, what's the point? Just because we don't want to be under some rule. He's like, because me, you, like Brood and Cowlor, you guys are some like semi-ascendants. Like, you don't want someone controlling you and bossing you around. You guys are gonna fight them.
We fight against the imposition of order and the mailed fist that must hide behind it because we are not the ones wielding that fist, nor would I ever wish to. Precisely. So why begrudge the Empress that possesses the desire and its attendant responsibilities?
I
And Corlad is just like, I don't get how does he do it? How does he think?
I love Animatorate. He just gets better and better. Since day one, I was like, this guy is so cool.
And Whiskey Jack and Dujit coming and Brood and Calor like having fun with it, like being super vague and because they've decided all we're going to discuss is logistics.
Yeah.
And they're being super vague, and Corlat comes in and is like, okay, this is what we want to talk about. That's it.
And Corlat's like, I hate you guys. You're being dumb.
You bastards having fun with this. Oh, and
Yeah.
then just a small scene after that, Pepper's like, can I come to the gathering? Silver Fox is like, yeah,
Yeah.
why not?
Just come. Yeah. I like though Whiskey Jack and Breaks just chat.
Oh my gosh, I love this scene so much. It's I can just see it as like a scene, the silhouettes of them on the hill, the moonlight in the background next to the river, Drake being like, so how's the leg? I haven't had time to get it fixed. We both know you have, but I'm stubborn too, so I'll like it's fine.
He's like, yeah, no. And then they just chat. He's like, so this Finner guy, he's gone.
Yeah, Perron's the master of the deck. The House of Chains wants sanctioning, and he should deny it. Well, what about Shadow? Well, Shadow always existed, but it was just reawakened. It was vacant.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's funny though at the end. He's like, "Do you want me to just go grab a beer?" Essentially. You want to just relax for a moment?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So what do you want? Do you have questions about what happened with Heberick and Fenner?
Okay, I'll tell you what I understand, then maybe you can fill in some of the gaps.
Okay.
So Heberick was a high priest, right?
Yes, he was a priest of Fenner. He was in line to become Destrian.
Destrian. Okay, and that's like
We
highest
got
of the
that.
high.
Yeah, we got that from an epigraph earlier in the book.
That's right.
That Carnatus is Destrian because Heberick didn't get there.
Okay. Yeah, so he was on path and then he wrote a book,
Yeah,
right?
he
He
wrote
kind of
that
exposed the
treatise that
real secrets.
yeah, that Lysine he didn't know that Dancer and Kellenred had ascended, but he revealed that Lysine killed them and took over by force.
So he did that, and then because of that, they enforced the Reeve,
Yes. The
right?
Reeve is the ceremony that we just saw with Ikovian chopping off Rathfenner's hands.
And since it was due to political nature,
Because it wasn't a
the
pure nature, Fenner couldn't touch the hands when they went to his realm.
yeah. So it was kind of like Fenner still liked him and wanted him.
Yeah, so Fenner gave Heberick the tattoos to show that he had accepted the punishment. But then when Heberick died, Fenner was going to use the power of Heborick's soul to just decimate the priests and the empire.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting, and I think that's why Fenner was taken out of the picture because his goal was just to avenge a priest and heavily affect an empire. And so the Elder Gods are like, we don't want that, so we'll replace you.
Yeah, we get two conflicting opinions on this because
Hmm.
Rake is like the Elder Gods were involved and they might have been involved with this, but Pran's like they can't know like they couldn't have known that the timing would work out exactly.
Hmm.
Like Pran is thinking they take advantage of chance and opportunity just as much as anyone else.
Yeah. So I think it was like a roll of the dice then, and it just
Yeah.
kind of worked out how they would have preferred, I guess.
Yeah, because then Heboric touched the jade statue, which is a link to chaos, which severed his link with Fenner.
Yeah. That which I thought was interesting that like just because he touched it, it severed that link.
Yep, and then chaos took hold of those hands and pushed.
Bye bye, Fender.
Yep,
Game over. It's fun while it lasted.
yep. And Whiskey just like, why are they so interested? Well, they were there when the crippled god fell. They and Calor are the only ones that know what the crippled god is, who he is, stuff like that. So the fact that they're scared should be terrifying.
Yeah.
And then I want to get your thoughts on this. I'm not sure exactly what it thinks. I'm not exactly sure what it means. But Rake is like, do you find like the sounds of a river to be calming? Yeah, I don't. And this is the difference between us.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out as well.
I'm thinking it might have something to do with just like the currents of the world
Maybe.
and how
Like I
like
think,
powerful beings like Rake are just more aware of that stuff. I don't
yeah,
know.
maybe, or maybe it's just something from the past or like higher like life experience, like you mentioned. But I think it could be like have multiple layers.
Yeah.
Like just simply he doesn't like rivers. He's
Yeah,
just it's
that's all Erickson was trying to tell us. It's just a small character detail about Rake.
like I think it's his one flaw, honestly. It's the one flaw. He just doesn't like rivers. And Whiskey Jack likes rivers, so like it makes me be like, wow, Whiskey Jack just keeps getting better and better. He makes some dumb mistakes like like in his relationship with Corlat, but like I mean, he's only a mortal man with so much experience, and the one flaw Rake has is he doesn't like rivers.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think that's what it really means.
Anyways, Whiskey Jack is like, I know what you need. You want to get drunk? I'll come back and we'll get drunk, and maybe your head will be quiet by dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a good. And just the scene, Whiskey Jack looking back and like dragging up her like a cross on Rake's back is just so good.
He's like, maybe the stuff I have isn't strong enough.
Maybe Grid Nail won't be enough, but like looking back, that is a mythical figure standing.
Yeah.
Jeez, this is going to be by far the longest we've ever recorded because now we're finally to Quick Ben stuff.
I don't know. I was like, it's getting late. But quick pen's the last little bit then.
And then we've got Piran too.
Yeah. But not too
Anyways,
much.
we
Anyways.
get some explanations of Warrens,
Yeah. I
how
I
they
liked it.
work.
Still confusing, but
Um, yeah, but we get some more, like wrapping himself in the Shadow Warren to pass unnoticed and passing into Hood's realm because the undead are not part of Hood's realm, so he can sneak by them.
I thought just the entire time, I thought this was just such a fun thing to watch Quick Ben work. Because he's such a unique mage. Like obviously, like anyone who knows anything about him is like he knows his stuff. Which I just thought was funny. Then he gets to the demon and what's his name? Oh, I'm blanking.
Ta Talamandus.
Talamandus. Talamandus is like, why are you touching the demon? Why are you doing this? He's like, well, see, it's in this script, and if you do this one thing, then it's free and it go back to its thing. And he's like, why are you doing that though? He's like, because why not? I need it gone,
Yeah,
so
I need a gun so I can enter. And Quick Ben is like, so this script hasn't been used for at least a few hundred years, and immediately starts speaking it.
oh, I know. And then he's
Uh,
like, all right, let me wrap myself in this one Warren real quick as well, just for a little extra protection.
yeah, the demon attacks, and he rolls out.
Immediate. And then it
Yeah,
goes away. Back to its Warren.
and Salamandus is like, these are the guys that captured me. They're scary. Why are you doing this? I want practice, and it's fun.
He's like, I gotta know what my limits are. He's like, I haven't been able to use my Warrens for a minute. But I thought it was hilarious that he gets into there and then uh Beauchamp just knows what's going on. He's like, someone release my demon. He's
Yeah.
like,
Let's
ah,
pour Reese get some wine for our guest, please.
what guest? Well, you know how my demon's gone? There's a guy here.
Well, Reese sees Quick and drops whatever he's doing. Yeah, so Quick just has a wonderful conversation. He tells Emanciport, Beauchamp tells Emanciport Reese to get something flowery. Reese brings back the bottle and no cup for yourself, Emanciport. I thought I was a pretty good master. I took a swim below to see if it was flowery, but I don't know what that means. It's the opposite of Woody, and he lists off some flowers, and Quickpen's like, those are poisonous. Well, Emancipor is a visual man, so I had to give him visual clues for him to understand. And then this is, dude, this is blood. This is Corporal Broach's from Corporal Broach's stash of blood. I think it's Virgin's blood. How do you know? Because it's Woody.
It is such a bizarre interaction between them the entire
It's
time.
so fun.
It's so fun, but so bizarre.
Yeah, that's
But
it there.
yeah, not much
But a
except
fun
it's
conversation.
yeah. And then we get him and Quick Ben's conversation about Warrens and
Yeah,
how
like
how
I find you fascinating, but Corporal Broach wants to kill you.
oh really?
Attacks, blasts him with warrens. I did my best not to kill him because I'm technically his guest as well, and it would be mad. It would be bad manners.
And he's like, 6? Wow, that's impressive. It's like I may have to study you now. Boom.
Like, well, that moment of, you know, you really should have held back on at least half of what you have. But Beauchamp, I did.
He did. He really did.
Yeah, just a really fun moment. Like Erickson showing you, hey, like Quick Ben, you've seen how scary these two are. Quick Ben is special.
Yeah. He's so special. Yeah, it's another moment, just like slowly building up Quick Ben's powers. I'm so excited to see him later down the line to see what else he can do in the later books. But yeah, I just love Quick Ben leaving with Talamandus, and he's like, I almost moved to that spot. And he's like, good thing you didn't. And then Mantipore's like, why are you guys always this way? You mages, you're the
You're
worst.
all insane.
And Talamanus is like, I agree.
Hmm. Like he's not wrong. Um, yeah, we've got Peron after that in the council chamber thinking about like again his responsibility. This is where he comes up with the conclusion that the Elder Gods can't be as involved as we think they might be. Otherwise, our lives have no like we have no free will otherwise.
Yeah. Which I think is a good conclusion with these
Hmm.
Elder Gods because I feel like they haven't done as much as like some people think they have. Definitely, because
Yeah.
when he was mentioning that, I'm like, yeah, I feel like there would have been a lot more things in play. Like this Pinion Domain wouldn't have been as big of a thing, I think, if the Elder Gods were there. Yeah.
And then Kafal shows up and is like, "Want to check out these cool swords?
Oh
They're not
yeah.
magical. We just used to be really badass at making metal."
Well, first he's like, look at this boat. You'd think it's one solid piece of wood. It isn't. Look how good this was. Look at this craftsmanship. And he's like, and then look inside. Sticks his knife in, twists it open, and he's like, and we have these swords. Aren't they awesome?
Aren't they awesome? Swing it, give it a try. See, it's super light. Yeah, we're gonna train our children to use them so that they don't fly out of their hands in battle.
Yeah, so hopefully we can recover some of our lost arts.
Yeah, and then he's like, "So, you want to bless our gods? I'll think about it. I still don't know what I'm doing."
Yeah, I think that's
Oh,
basically Piran's entire thing is just I have no
yeah.
idea. Give me a moment.
We also learned the Barghest are gonna rebuild the canoes, like build canoes, and Piran asks, "Will the land be the home of the Barghest much longer?" And Kefal says, "No.
Not at
A
all.
man possessing power must act decisively," Gnos Piran. "When I decide to act, it will be decisive."
He's like, don't worry.
There you
I know
go.
what I'm doing.
Yep.
But isn't this also shortly after where he chats with Gruntle as well?
Yeah, Kruntel shows up and he was with Hatan and he's like, I feel battered and bruised. And Piran's like, every man that I've ever heard say that after being with a woman, there's always like a smile underneath that.
He's like, you're not wrong.
And the two of them just sit there and they're like, man, we're the worst choices for our jobs, aren't we? But does that make us the best choices?
As well. Yeah. No, I think it was intentional then because they're not going to do it. Like I feel like in a position of power, you need someone who's going to treat it with respect. And I think they make that comparison with Gruntle of like he's going to use his swords when he needs to, and Perron's going to make the right decisions because they're the right decisions.
What did you think of their debate about the House of Chains?
I agree with Perron, I think, because as soon as it was brought up, because I was thinking, yeah, why would you want to include him in it? But then the more they explained the big picture, I was like, oh no, they need to include the crippled god into this. He wants to play, let him play. Like he doesn't know the rules as well as some other people do, I imagine.
He's outside the rules right now.
Yeah, and it's hard to play with someone who's outside the rules. And so I think that because like every house has their like knights, like their
Hmm.
different pieces. So I think if they let him in, then he's required to have those pieces to be at full effect. But if you can stop some of those pieces, eventually you can completely remove him and remove him from the game, is my thought.
Piran's like, I kind of wonder what are the gods gonna say if I legitimize the House of Chains? And Gruntel's response is basically, fuck them.
Yeah. He's like, why do you care? They
Hey,
put,
at least we'll be together in hell if this
yeah.
goes wrong.
He's like, then it's gonna be on them. They picked us. All right.
Yep.
We're gonna do our thing. Yeah.
Well, and then Quick Ben, we'll go back to this because we did jump ahead a bit, but Quick Ben
Yeah.
gets to them after his conversation with Hood and is like, Piran, do whatever your instincts tell you to do.
He's like, doesn't matter. He's like, I've been doing that all along. It's worked out great.
Yeah. What did Quick Ben has another conversation with the god? He
Yeah.
pulls Hood through and has a chat.
I loved it. Like I said before, it revealed more of who Hood is, which for me, for some reason, I'm just so fascinated by him. And I love how Quick Ben was just like, first off, Talamandas kind of got removed from the picture doing this. So he's like, what happened? I disappeared, which I thought was kind of funny. But I love how Quick Ben, after all this quick mental math of like, okay, Hood's involved, it's Hood. And then he sees kind of like Hood hanging there somehow. I don't know how this works, but he just says like, hey, yanks him in, is like, hey, buddy, listen up, listen up. Don't do what you're gonna do. You better do this as this. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm a god. I don't care. You're gonna do this to help them.
Yeah, if you don't, the Bargas gods will not forget it, and you might be fighting with them for eternity. He's like, Hood's like, yeah, Treach held up his end of the deal. Trake's mortal sword gave me a lot of souls, and Quick's like, okay, hold up your end of the deal, bastard.
Yeah, he's like, because I love how Hood's like, you're not taking my advice. And then Quick Bang gives him basically some of the best advice ever. And he's like, and now you're not taking my advice. But
I do like so Hood's listing off the people that are wanting to join the House of Chains. Polio, Mistress of Pestilence,
mm,
good good goddess for the how yeah, for the crippled god. Aspires to the role of consort. A herald has been recruited. Hood hesitates there because the herald that's been recruited is Gethel, who was his herald, and decided to leave him. So
yep,
he's pissed about that. An ancient warrior seeks to become Reaver while the house has found in a distant land its mortal sword.
we got two mystery mortal swords.
Raffo.
Yeah,
Hold to the agreement unless you've learned nothing about from the mistakes you made with Dasim Ultor.
that was a huge mistake. Hood was not happy about that.
Nope. Ye will be mine one day, mortal. No doubt, Hood. In the meantime, let's just luxuriate in the anticipation, shall we?
He's like, let's have fun with this. No, I loved
Um,
just the interaction with Hood.
yeah, it's great.
Just like how much Quick Ben messes with these gods. I love.
Yeah, like Quick Ben says, he's not a match for the gods, but he beats them at their own game.
Yep.
Anything else about that?
No.
Okay, and then the last scene is we've got at Kovian. They bring the refugees out. It's actually really smart, waiting for it to be dark so that it eases the transition into how messed up the city is.
Yep.
Um,
The bar guest at this time had been burying a lot of people
yeah,
already,
they're taking carts out of dead and things like that.
which props to the bar guest. I thought that was a cool thing that they did. Like a cool detail added in that like
Hmm.
they were already helping clean up the city to make it less of a jarring transition.
Yeah, and then Kovian's like, "Okay, I've got something to do. This feels right. So you come with me. Let's go." And makes them the shield anvil, not the the shield anvil and the destriant of Tog and Fandere, the wolf gods.
Yep. With the mortal sword that's already been found.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what that is.
¿Quién puede ser? Who can it be?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Great. That's gonna be the "Who Can It Be Now" song just got stuck in my head, and it's gonna be lodged there the rest of the night.
That's awesome. But yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I don't know if you do.
Kovian feels bad because he's like, I kind of gave you two no choice at
He
the
does.
positions that you're holding, but
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I noticed that, and I now that you mention it, I remember reading that, and I was like, but he knows that's how the Gray Swords are going to move forward. He's like, and I think he made the right decision.
Oh,
So
and he tells them to recruit from the Tenascauri
it's gnarly.
because they have nothing left. Their souls are empty, so fill them with something.
Yeah. So I mean, not a bad move, honestly.
Yeah,
But
that's all that I've got.
that's all I got. It was a fun, long reading. Oof.
That's the longest we've gone, I think.
Yeah. No.
Um, yeah, we will be back next week with chapters 19 and 20, finishing up book 3 of Memories of Ice.
Woohoo.
But until then, how was that, Todd?